10,000 IU of vitamin D, hidden miracle or silent danger. You get sunlight, take vitamin D, but your body may still be in silent collapse because you could be making a serious mistake without realizing it. The truth about this vitamin goes against everything you were taught, and the signs of this problem may already be in your body. In this video, discover the right dose you need, the hidden signs of deficiency, and how this impacts your immunity, energy, and even your blood pressure. Do not self-supplement, seek professional help. Due to the shock of 10,000 IUs, miracle or risk. Have you ever heard of taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 per day? It sounds like an absurd number, doesn't it? Most people are used to those minimal doses, 600 to 2,000 IUs, that we find in multivitamins or in the recommendations of traditional doctors. But here's the surprising part. 10,000 IUs might sound like a vitamin D bomb, but in reality, that's only 0.25 milligrams. That's right, a quarter of 1 milligram. Now, let's compare. The daily recommendation for vitamin B1, for example, is 2 milligrams. In other words, when you look at the number 10,000, it seems like an exaggerated dose. But when you translate it into milligrams, suddenly it doesn't seem so scary. So the real question is this a dangerous mistake or a hidden key to your health? What has science already proven? Get ready, because what I'm about to reveal could completely change your perspective on vitamin D. 2. Why is vitamin D3 so essential? When we think about vitamin D, the first thing that usually comes to mind is strong bones, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Vitamin D3 isn't just a vitamin. In fact, it works more like a powerful hormone in the body. And here's a shocking fact. It regulates about 10% of your genes. This means that 1 in every 10 genes in your body depends on vitamin D to function properly. We're talking about genes that control your immune system, your inflammatory response, your mental health, and even cell regeneration. Now, why don't most people know this? Because the traditional doses of 600 IUs we've heard about were defined decades ago with a single goal: preventing rickets, a bone disease caused by extreme vitamin D deficiency. But these doses don't take into account everything vitamin D does beyond bones. In other words, preventing rickets is not the same as optimizing your health. So, while you take your daily dose thinking you're protected, your genes may be screaming for more vitamin D, and you don't even realize it. 3. Extra. The forgotten history of vitamin D, the path of discovery. Vitamin D may seem like a modern supplement, but its history goes back centuries, and it's full of surprising twists. It all started in the early 17th century when Dr. Zor began noticing an alarming increase in children with deformed and fragile bones in industrial cities across Europe, especially in London. These children suffered from a disease known as rickets. The cause was a mystery, until, in the early 1900s, a scientist named Sir Edward Mellanby made a revolutionary discovery. He realized that dogs raised indoors without sunlight also developed a condition similar to rickets. That's when he made the connection. The lack of sun was directly linked to bone health, but there was still a missing piece of the puzzle. In 1922, biochemist Elmer McCollum isolated a previously unknown substance, which he called vitamin D, while studying cod liver oil. Curiously, long before modern science, some cultures were already using cod liver oil as a natural remedy. The Vikings took this oil during harsh winters to maintain their strength and immunity. In ancient China, doctors recommended sun exposure to treat bone diseases in children, centuries before any official scientific research. And there's more. In indigenous tribes of North America, it was customary to expose newborns to the sun to ensure healthy growth, a tradition passed down from generation to generation. It was only after these discoveries that science finally recognized that vitamin D produced by the sun and found in certain foods was crucial not only for preventing rickets, but for the body's overall health. What began as a solution for weak bones evolved into a deeper understanding. Vitamin D regulates genes, strengthens the immune system, and even impacts mental health. Today, we know that its importance goes far beyond bones, something that ancient cultures had already suspected for centuries. In other words, while science took years to connect the dots, natural wisdom had always been there. 4. The global problem, the vitamin D deficiency epidemic now. Let's face an alarming reality. 90% of the world's population has vitamin D levels below ideal. And we're not just talking about those living in countries with little sunlight. Even in sunny places like Brazil, Spain, or Australia, people still show deficiencies. But why? First, there's the modern lifestyle. We spend most of our time indoors, in offices, homes, gyms, away from direct sunlight. Then, there's the obsession with sunscreen. Since the 1980s, when the media linked sun exposure to skin cancer risk, many people started avoiding the sun at all costs. The problem is that by blocking UVB rays with sunscreen, you also block the production of vitamin D in the skin. And here's a curious fact. Despite this sun phobia, cases of melanoma, the most severe form of skin cancer, have continued to rise since 1980. In other words, avoiding the sun didn't solve the problem. Now, add to this the fact that the recommended vitamin D dose was based only on preventing bone diseases, completely ignoring its importance for immunity, mental health, and preventing autoimmune diseases. The result? A silent epidemic of vitamin D deficiency, affecting your energy, mood, immunity, and something you may never have connected to simply not getting enough sun or the correct dose of D3. 5. How lack of sun affects vitamin D. Absorption. Have you ever noticed that even people who spend time outdoors still have vitamin D deficiency? This happens because just being in the sun isn't enough. The angle of sunlight and how it hits your skin make all the difference. Here's a simple but powerful rule, the shadow rule. It works like this. If your shadow is longer than you are, your body isn't producing vitamin D. This happens because vitamin D is only synthesized when UVB rays hit your skin at a specific angle, usually between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. In other words, that morning or sunset walk doesn't count for your vitamin D. Another interesting point, sun through windows doesn't work. So if you drive for hours with the sun hitting your arm or work near a big window, it might feel like you're tanning. But the truth is that UVB rays don't pass through glass. The result? You're still not producing vitamin D, and may even be increasing the damage caused by UVA rays, which age your skin without offering the benefits of vitamin D synthesis. In short, even under the sun, you could be bathing in light without producing any vitamin D3. 6. Silent symptoms of vitamin D deficiency. Let's talk about the invisible signs of vitamin D deficiency, the symptoms you often ignore or blame on other factors. For example, do you feel back pain that radiates to your hips or thighs? It might not just be muscle tension. It's a classic symptom of vitamin D deficiency, since it regulates calcium absorption and affects bone and muscle health. Another rarely mentioned sign, high blood pressure. Vitamin D influences the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels and helps control blood pressure. Without enough vitamin D, your blood vessels can become stiff, raising your pressure. And here's what surprises most people: depression and anxiety. That's because vitamin D directly affects the brain, influencing neurotransmitters like serotonin, the hormone responsible for your mood and sense of well-being. In other words, constant tiredness, lack of motivation, and even that unexplained anxiety might be less about your routine and more about the level of vitamin D in your blood. And it doesn't stop there. People with vitamin D deficiency may also experience weak immunity, getting sick easily, chronic inflammation, persistent joint and muscle pain, hair loss, since vitamin D is linked to the hair growth cycle. These symptoms are often treated individually, but the root of the problem may be just one thing: a lack of vitamin D3. 7. Who is most at risk? Factors that block vitamin D. Now you might be wondering, but I get sun. Why am I still deficient? The answer lies in invisible vitamin D blockers, factors that affect your ability to absorb or activate this vitamin, even when you do everything right. For example, your skin color. The darker your skin, the more sun exposure you need. Melanin, which gives skin its color, acts like a natural sunscreen, blocking part of the UVB rays. This means someone with dark skin might need up to 10 times more sun exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D as someone with light skin. Another factor is age. As we age, our skin becomes thicker and loses its efficiency in producing vitamin D. People over 60 years old generally produce 75% less vitamin D than younger people exposed to the same sun. And there's more. Excess weight also affects vitamin D. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, meaning it dissolves in fat. In people with excess body fat, vitamin D tends to get trapped in adipose tissue, reducing the amount available to the blood and organs. Another hidden enemy: plastics and environmental chemicals, known as forever chemicals. These chemicals, found in packaging, non-stick cookware, and even cosmetics, interfere with your hormonal balance, affecting vitamin D absorption and even testosterone production. Lastly, there's genetics. Some people have a mutation in vitamin D receptors, VDR, meaning that even if they get sun or take supplements, their body doesn't process vitamin D efficiently. So if you do everything right, get sun, take supplements, but your levels are still low, these invisible factors might be blocking your vitamin D without you realizing it. These three topics keep the audience curious, exploring how vitamin D is affected by unexpected factors, creating a sense of urgency to keep watching. 8. The solution. Why 10,000 IUs are safe and effective. Now that we understand how common, and often invisible, vitamin D deficiency is, the big question arises: how do we correct this safely? The answer might surprise you: 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 daily. But hold on. Before you think this is a dangerous exaggeration, here's a practical comparison. Taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 is the equivalent of spending 20 minutes under strong summer sun without sunscreen. In other words, there's nothing artificial or toxic about it. And what about the fear of vitamin D toxicity? The reality is that toxicity only occurs when someone takes hundreds of thousands of IUs for months in a row, something far from the 10,000 IUs recommended for maintaining health. In fact, studies show that for someone to develop hypercalcemia, excess calcium in the blood caused by too much vitamin D, they would need to take 30 to 40 times that daily dose over a long period. So if you thought 10,000 IUs were dangerous, now you know it's just a conservative dose, an amount that mimics natural sun exposure and keeps your blood levels stable. Even more, this dose not only prevents deficiency, but also strengthens your immunity, regulates your mood, and protects your bone and cardiovascular health. 9. The complete formula: how to boost vitamin D3. But here's a little-known detail: vitamin D3 alone is not enough. Yes, you can take 10,000 IUs per day, but if you don't combine that with other key nutrients, the effect may be limited, or even ineffective. Let's get straight to the point. Vitamin D3 needs cofactors to work properly. Magnesium. It's the engine that activates vitamin D in your body. Without magnesium, vitamin D remains inactive and cannot regulate your genes or strengthen your immune system. Vitamin K2. While D3 increases calcium absorption, K2 directs that calcium to the right places, like bones and teeth, preventing it from building up in the arteries. Zinc. Important for immune function and essential for vitamin D synthesis, helping to enhance its effects in the body. And here's something interesting. When you increase vitamin D, your body automatically increases its demand for magnesium. So, if you don't boost magnesium when taking D3, you might start experiencing symptoms like cramps, fatigue, or even heart palpitations, not because of vitamin D itself, but due to a lack of magnesium. So, the complete formula to maximize your vitamin D includes 10,000 IUs of D3K2, 100 to 200 mcg. Magnesium, preferably citrate, threonate, or glycinate. Zinc, 15 to 30 milliliters. If you're only taking D3 by itself, you might be missing out on half the benefits. 10. How to measure and monitor your vitamin D levels. But how do you know if 10,000 IUs is the right dose for you? The answer is simple. By testing your vitamin D levels. It's impossible to guess your ideal dosage without measuring how much vitamin D is already in your blood. Doctors usually measure 25-hydroxyvitamin D, the main blood marker for identifying vitamin D deficiency or sufficiency. And here's the secret. Although many labs consider 30 ng/ml to be normal, the ideal range for optimal health is between 60 and 80 ng/ml. In other words, you might fall within the standard range on medical tests, but still be below what's needed to strengthen your immune system, regulate your mood, and fight inflammation. Now, how can you test this without hassle? Today, there are at-home vitamin D tests that don't require a doctor's prescription. With a simple finger prick, you collect a blood sample, mail it to the lab, and receive your results online. If your levels are below 60 ng/ml, increasing supplementation to 10,000 IUs daily, combined with magnesium, K2, and zinc, could be the key to rebalancing your health. And here's an extra tip. Monitor your levels every 3 to 4 months. That way, you can adjust your dose according to what your body actually needs, without guessing. 11. Strategies to naturally increase vitamin D. You think the only way to get vitamin D is through supplements or direct sunlight? The truth will surprise you. There are natural and delicious ways to boost your levels. Let's start with vitamin D-rich foods. Cod liver oil, used for centuries by Nordic cultures to strengthen the immune system during long winters. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, a powerful source of natural D3 sun-exposed mushrooms. An incredible fact, since just like us, mushrooms synthesize vitamin D when exposed to UV light. Egg yolks, but only from pasture-raised hens that get sunlight. But here's something most people don't know. The time of year directly affects your vitamin D levels. In autumn and winter, UVB rays are less intense, especially in regions far from the equator. This means that even if you spend time in the sun, you may not be producing enough vitamin D. That's why the tip is, adjust your supplementation according to the seasons. Higher doses in winter combined with vitamin D-rich foods. In other words, boosting your vitamin D involves more than just taking capsules. It's a strategic balance between sun, food, and smart supplementation. 12. Conclusion. Clear and urgent action. Now that you know how vitamin D deficiency affects not only your immunity but also your mood, bones, and even your blood pressure, the question remains, what are you going to do about it? The solution is clear. 10,000 IUs of D3 daily, magnesium, K2, and zinc to enhance the effects. Regular testing to keep your levels between 60-80 ng/ml, and a diet rich in natural vitamin D sources, adjusted to the seasons. The good news? You are in control. If you're dealing with symptoms like chronic fatigue, unexplained anxiety, or a weak immune system, the solution might not be a complex treatment, but something as simple as correcting your vitamin D levels. So, start now. Get smart sun exposure, adjust your supplementation, and track your results. Your body already knows what it needs. Now it's your turn to give it what it's been missing. Scientific references. The importance of vitamin D for bone health. A study published by the National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI, highlights the relevance of vitamin D in maintaining bone health and preventing diseases like rickets. Vitamin D and the immune system. Research from NCBI discusses the influence of vitamin D in boosting the immune system and its relationship with preventing respiratory infections. Vitamin D deficiency and health risks. An NCBI article explores the consequences of vitamin D deficiency, including the increased risk of chronic diseases. Renowned doctors who address vitamin D. Dr. Michael Hollick, USA, a recognized endocrinologist and researcher, Dr. Hullick is a world authority on vitamin D and bone health. Dr. John Cannell, USA. Founder of the Vitamin D Council, Dr. Cannell is dedicated to researching and promoting the benefits of vitamin D. Dr. Eric Berg, USA. A specialist in natural health and chiropractic care. Dr. Berg frequently discusses the importance of vitamin D in his educational videos. Dr. Cicero Galli Coimbra, Brazil. A Brazilian neurologist known for his protocol of high doses of vitamin D in the treatment of autoimmune diseases. Uris, now that you've learned everything about vitamin D, make sure to watch this other video because it will take your health to the next level. See you there. Do not self-supplement, seek professional help.